Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name's Trevor. I'm a full-time operations manager at a well-known tech company, and more importantly, I'm a father to a 10-year-old boy who means everything to me. One Thursday afternoon, I was sitting at my desk, buried in numbers and reports, when my phone buzzed. It was my son's teacher. That alone was strange, because teachers usually don't call unless something serious is going on. I picked up, thinking maybe my son got into trouble or wasn't feeling well. But I wasn't expecting what she said. "Mr. Trevor, is everything all right at home? Nobody has come to pick up your son. He's still here, waiting in the office." My heart dropped. She said the school day had ended over an hour ago. That didn't make sense. My wife always picked him up. That was the arrangement. Always had been. I tried calling her immediately, but each call went to voicemail. No message, no answer. I told the teacher I'd be there shortly and rushed to my supervisor's office. I explained the situation quickly, told him my son had been left at school, and I didn't know where my wife was. He waved me off and told me to go. As I drove, I tried calling Katie. Again and again. But every call went straight to voicemail. It didn't make sense. Katie might have been cold to me lately, but this wasn't her. Or, at least, it wasn't the version of her I still believed in. Sure, the love between us had been slowly crumbling for the past several months. Conversations became shorter, and smiles between us became rare. She'd started shutting me out. Sometimes I felt more like a roommate than a husband. I sent her a few texts while I was driving. "Where are you?" "The school called. You didn't show up. Is everything okay? Call me, please." No response. Each minute that passed without a reply made my chest tighten more. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my gut was screaming that something was wrong. Every red light felt like it lasted forever. Every turn felt slower than it should have. And all I could think was, why wouldn't she answer me? I pulled up to the school, and my son was standing near the office doors, his little backpack slung over one shoulder. He'd been waiting an hour. I could see it in his eyes. When he saw me, his face lit up for a second. He climbed into the back seat without a word and buckled his seatbelt. We pulled out of the lot, and a few minutes into the drive, he asked, in that soft voice kids use when they're not sure if they're doing something wrong, "Why didn't Mom come today?" I could have told him the truth, that I didn't know where she was, that she wasn't picking up her phone, that I was just as lost as he was. But he's just a kid. He didn't need that weight on his shoulders. So, I lied. I told him Mom was really busy today, something came up, but she would have come if she could. He looked at me through the rearview mirror and just nodded, like he wanted to believe it even if it didn't make full sense. The rest of the drive, he didn't say a word, just stared out the window. And I couldn't stop glancing at him. He could feel something was off. And the truth is, so could I. I've never felt more helpless in my life than I did on that drive home, trying to keep it together for him when my gut was twisting in every direction. I pulled into the driveway and saw Katie's car sitting there like everything was normal. You'd think seeing the car would be a relief. But no, it felt off. Her car was there, but no calls, no texts, no explanation. It just didn't sit right. I parked, turned off the engine, and sat there for a second, trying to piece things together. I got out and told my son to wait by the front steps while I went in first. I didn't want him walking into something confusing or upsetting. I opened the front door slowly, listening. Nothing. I called out her name twice. Nothing. I checked the kitchen, the living room, and the hallway. Empty. That's when I knew something wasn't right. I came back out and told my son to go in and change into his home clothes. He nodded quietly and walked to his room. While he was changing, I grabbed my phone and started calling. I reached out to my wife's sister first, no idea where my wife was. Then her closest friend was also clueless. I kept trying, name after name, until it hit me that no one knew anything. No one had seen her. No one had heard from her. It wasn't just me she ghosted, it was everyone. At that point, I started pacing. I was stuck between anger and panic. A part of me wanted to believe she had some kind of emergency, but walking out like this, without telling anyone, and worse, leaving her own son behind at school, That's not normal behavior, not even for how rocky things had been lately. I thought about going straight to the police, but I remember the rule. They don't take missing person reports until 24 hours have passed. So I was left there, standing in a silent house with a confused child in the next room, wondering where my wife went and why she would do something like this. When I got into our bedroom, I changed out of my work clothes. My son was in his room. As I pulled my shirt off, I looked over at her side of the closet. That's when I noticed some of her clothes were gone. Someone had intentionally packed. Her side of the dresser had drawers left slightly ajar, as if she didn't even care to close them properly. At first, I didn't want to believe it. But then, right there on her nightstand, was a single sheet of paper, folded in half. I opened it, and it was just her saying she was leaving the marriage, and that she had moved in with someone else. Her lover, as she wrote. For a while, I just stood there. Suddenly, all those cold silences, the distance between us, and the way she flinched when I reached for her hand, all made sense. She had already checked out, probably long before this note. I sat down on the edge of the bed, and the weight of it all crashed into me at once. I called her sister again, then her cousin. Nobody claimed to know anything. Either they were lying, or she'd been keeping this part of her life hidden even from them. I didn't know what was worse, that she betrayed me, or that she had clearly planned this behind my back for a while and still looked me in the face every morning. I was too stunned to cry. I wish I could say I handled it all like a champ, but the truth is, I was crushed. I had no idea what to do, but I knew I had to keep it together, at least for my son. So, I pulled myself off the bed, dragged my feet to the kitchen, and started making something simple for dinner. Something I knew he'd eat without a fight. As I stirred the pot, I couldn't wrap my head around it. How do you go from kissing your son goodbye in the morning to never showing up to pick him up from school? It didn't make any sense. When dinner was ready, I called my son to the table. He asked again why his mom didn't pick him up. I lied again. He just nodded and ate quietly. After I got him ready for bed later that night and tucked him in, I went back to my laptop. There was a project I had been working on before the call from his teacher came through. I didn't want to do it, but I forced myself to finish it. It took about an hour, but I needed something to keep my hands moving, to stop my brain from replaying every argument, every cold look Katie had given me over the past few months. After working, I don't even remember why I checked my personal email that night. I immediately saw a notification from our $529 college savings plan account. My heart skipped. At first, I thought it was just one of those monthly balance updates or a contribution confirmation. But when I opened it, I froze. The account was empty. I read it again, and again, and again, thinking it was a glitch or a mistake. But it wasn't. Katie had completely wiped out our son's college fund. The one we opened together when he was barely 6 months old. I remember the day I was filling out the paperwork. I told Katie then, I didn't want our son to struggle like I did. I had to work 2 jobs through college, graduated with a mountain of debt, and even then, it took years to climb out of that hole. I swore he wouldn't go through the same. She smiled back then, said it was a great idea, said she loved how forward-thinking I was. We were in sync, or at least I thought we were. Fast forward a few years, and that smile turned into constant nagging about how the money was just sitting there. I still remember the day she found this house on Zillow, some flashy, overpriced property in a perfect neighborhood, according to her. She showed me pictures. We can use the college fund for the down payment, she said. I shut it down immediately. That money had one purpose, and it wasn't to feed anyone's real estate fantasy. She didn't take it well. From that point, it became a pattern. Every time the balance went up, so did her suggestions. Remodel the kitchen, invest in some sketchy crypto, take a luxury vacation before the kid grows up. I said no every time, but none of that mattered now. She had taken it. All of it. That fund wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was peace of mind. It was hours of overtime, skipped vacations, sacrificed hobbies, all for his future. And now it was gone. So I closed my laptop, dragged myself to the bedroom, and lay there with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling in the dark. My wife had already left me. Now, she had taken my son's future too. Sleep didn't come that night. Only a resolve started forming in the silence, I was going to make this right, no matter what it took. The morning after I found the note and saw the college fund drained, I was still numb. I barely slept. My son had asked me twice during breakfast if I was okay, and I just nodded, because I didn't know what to say. After I dropped him off at school, I called my best friend, Kyle, and told him everything. Then Kyle told me, flat out, that I needed to speak to a family attorney right away. He even gave me the contact of someone he trusted. That same afternoon, I found myself sitting across from an attorney. I laid everything out. He listened without interrupting, which helped. Then, he started laying out a plan. First, he told me we had to act immediately. File emergency motions to freeze any shared accounts and credit lines so she couldn't touch anything else. Then, we needed temporary court orders to secure custody of my son and protect the remaining assets we still had. He explained that because the college fund was a 529 plan, Katie had a fiduciary duty to use that money strictly for our son's education. By taking it to run off with some guy, she broke that duty, and we could use that in court. That was the moment things started shifting for me. I went from crushed and confused to focused. We filed the motions that very day. Once the 24-hour mark passed, I followed through on the next step and filed a missing persons report with the local police. I explained that Katie left suddenly, left no information behind, and hadn't contacted anyone. I was careful not to let emotions take over. The police took it seriously. Within a few days, they tracked her down. Katie had flown out to Las Vegas with her lover. Knowing where she was only made the betrayal sharper, but it also helped strengthen our legal response. Back with my lawyer, we agreed it was time to hit back, formally. We moved forward with a civil suit not just against Katie, but against the man she ran off with. We demanded restitution for the college fund. The attorney filed motions to subpoena financial records, Katie's bank accounts, her credit card activity, and any wire transfers she'd made. What we uncovered confirmed everything we feared. Not only had Katie taken the money, but her lover had benefited directly from it. Some of it was transferred into an account linked to him. Some was used for travel and hotel stays under his name. That opened the door for a bigger legal strategy. My lawyer expanded the suit. We added charges for unjust enrichment, meaning he received money he had no legal right to. Then civil conspiracy, because he knowingly participated in a scheme that hurt our son's financial future. I couldn't let this slide. From that moment on, everything I did in court was for my son, and I wasn't backing down. Filing for divorce wasn't just something I did out of anger. It was something I had to do to protect myself, and more importantly, to protect my son. My lawyer told me, we're filing for fault-based divorce. You've got grounds, adultery, dissipation of marital assets, abandonment, and we're going to use all of them. The lawyer walked me through every step. We requested sole legal and physical custody of our son. He told me that with the way Katie disappeared, the judge would see her as unstable. And honestly, she was. Any woman who could take off to Vegas with her boyfriend and drain a college fund meant for her own child didn't have any business being the one making decisions for that child's future. My attorney also filed a restraining order to stop her from accessing or spending any other marital assets. That was critical, especially now that we knew she was capable of clearing out entire accounts without blinking. We made it clear to the court that this wasn't just about a breakup. This was about betrayal, recklessness, and theft that impacted a child's future. So we demanded a favorable asset division. At that point, I realized that whatever love I had left for her was gone. When the court proceedings began and I saw her for the first time since she disappeared, I didn't feel anything. She walked in looking like someone I used to know. She didn't make eye contact. She sat beside her lawyer and tried to argue that she took the money as part of what she felt she was entitled to, her piece of the marriage settlement. Her exact words. She claimed she knew things weren't working, so she figured she was just taking what was hers. But the judge didn't buy it. Not after seeing the timeline. Not after seeing the bank records. Not after hearing that she vanished without notice and left a 6-year-old sitting at school with no idea why his mom didn't come. Full custody was granted to me. Katie was given supervised visitation, limited, and only when she could prove stability. The court also ruled that she was to repay the entire college fund as part of the divorce settlement. But that wasn't the end of it, because her boyfriend was also dragged into the legal mess. He benefited from the stolen money. The records showed hotel stays, expensive dinners, even a down payment on a used convertible. All of it came out of that fund. So we held him accountable, too. The court made him jointly responsible for repaying what was left. I'll never forget her reaction when the ruling was read. Katie broke down crying. I just watched. Because that moment was the sum of every decision she made. Was I angry? Absolutely. Was I hurt? More than words could say. But in that courtroom, for the first time in months, I felt something close to justice. It didn't erase the pain, but it mattered. And it was enough for now. The legal battle was necessary, but it didn't patch up the part of me that was gutted the moment I found out Katie had been cheating. Getting custody was a win. So was forcing Katie and her boyfriend to pay back most of what they took. It was justice, sure, but it didn't make the pain disappear. You don't stop hurting just because a judge sides with you. There's still this scar inside, where trust used to live. I used to believe marriage meant something. I thought we were partners. Turns out, I was building a life with someone who already had one foot out the door. But the worst part wasn't losing her. It was explaining things to my son without breaking him. He's too young to understand betrayal, but he knew something wasn't right. Kids are sharp like that. I had to be two parents at once. I cooked, cleaned, and helped with homework. Looking back, I realize I can't change what happened. Katie made her choices, and she had to live with the fallout.